So my documentary was Indie Game the Movie, and it's about 3 video games being developed. Phil Fish developed Fez, Edmund McClellan and Tommy Ruffins, I don't know how to say their names, developed Super Meat Boy, and Jonathan Blow developed Braid. The documentary is basically about the hardships of trying to develop indie games and all the stress that comes with it. So the documentary follows these 4 developers trying to develop or trying to get these games out, or in Jonathan's Blow case, it already being out. Phil Fish, his game was in development for 4 years, and it was still in development during the entire documentary, and he had to deal with losing his grant and losing a partner and having to do the game all on his own with no money, no income, and like it kind of took a toll on him. With Edmund and Tommy, it was about them trying to get their game out in a certain amount of time to get sponsored and having to deal with crunching to get the game out and life getting in the way, economic or financially, and kind of their relationships too. With Jonathan Blow, it was kind of the fact that he couldn't handle any reactions, positive or negative, from the audience with Braid, so he kind of just didn't know how to function after. He kind of didn't know how to get back into the real world, and none of these men did, and it was just about the stress that came upon them while making these games for, a target audience, not a wide range amount of people. I connect this documentary to the cultural aspect because as children these gamers were given games like Super Mario Brothers, Mega Man, and Metroid to play with, and that kind of influenced their life, and they grew up knowing that they wanted to produce games and they wanted to work on a video game or make their own video game, and that kind of like pushed them to design their own indie game instead of working with a big company, because they wanted to make their own game like they did when they were kids. So like what we're given as children kind of heavily influences us in our future. And the difference is the technology now is so much greater and you can do so much grander things, but these guys just want to make old school games like when we were kids, just a little bit more advanced and a little bit different. Another part of this is the mental state of these men producing these games. Phil Fish said himself if he doesn't get his game out, that he would kill himself, and Jonathan Blow literally did not know how to deal with the backlash from attention from the game. And it really reminds me of the soldiers with post-traumatic stress disorder, because they just don't know how to function after coming out with these games. After working alone for 4 years, they don't know how to be a proper human being. So now I'm going to talk about some important facts, like the indie game popularity due to Steam, like I already mentioned. 2008 was the first big year for indie games. Team Meat could get away with a lot of offensive things in their game due to being funded by both men and no investors. Fez won an award at the IGF in 2008 before the game was even close to coming out. Edmund has designed 25 Flash games in the past 10 years. Super Meat Boy was his first major release, and his 3rd grade teacher wanted him evaluated because she thought he was psychologically disturbed. He created Aether, a game based off his childhood and influenced by his niece. Phil Fish got a Nintendo system when he was 4 years old with Super Mario Bros., Zelda, and Tetris. It was the moment he decided he wanted to make video games. In 1993, him and his dad created a video game based on art he would make. He also created this thing called Cybervision, which is a software he made himself. It made patterns that inverted in Flash that you would stick your face in and stare at. When Phil's dad was diagnosed with leukemia, his parents got divorced. He had to move his father into an apartment, and his girlfriend left him. And the guy who owned half the company left, and Phil was in charge of the whole company, and he lost his grant, and he had no money, and he was overworked and overstressed, and his name and career was on the line. So I think that really psychologically affected him. He didn't know what to do, and he was kind of going crazy. Tommy also kind of went insane, He told Edmund as long as he finished the game, he was okay with dying. He sacrificed having a life to develop the game. He couldn't go out because he had no money or a car or any of that. And that's about it. So my lame prompt would be children's actions / interests strongly affect their future. Discuss. Look at those sources. Look at them. They're beautiful. Source